Recording.
All right. Nice fall evening. On a Wednesday. Wheelie Wednesday. And I just wanted to have a quick little nonchalant chat vlog. Not sure if I'm going to put this on my YouTube or not. A week ago today, I went to the Kart track. My videos are on my YouTube. And I really had a good time. I got to ride my YZ400F Supermoto at the Kart track. Kart track. That's Oklahoma Motorsports Park. And it was a really fun time for me. But I got to ride the 400. I rode the doozy. That's what I'm on today, the 470 stroker. And I wanted to pull in over here on this and see the police department's Halloween display. That's pretty cool, huh? I like that. It's nice to see people in the spirit. It's fun for the kids. Fun for the police too, because they've really been crapped on lately, you know, last year and all that business with what they call police brutality. And you know, I'm not saying this and that, but you know, it's kind of one of those deals. You label everybody based upon the actions of a few. And that's just too bad. But here we are, the 13th of October. And it's pretty decent. I've put on my cooler weather jacket. I do have the vents open on it, because it's not so cold that it's uncomfortable to ride. I don't know what that car is up there. Last thing I want to do is get a ticket on this, so the railroad tracks are safe. This time. And there's just somebody pulling their trailer with their mower. Probably a professional lawn service. Ooh. But I wanted to talk about was the comparison of the doozy, my DRZ with its 470 stroker, to the purpose-built Supermoto for track. The light's starting to fail, so the video quality might not be that great for sections of this. Here it is, just a skosh after 7. But anyway, I started off my day with a ride on my YZ, and it's been over a year since I've been on that track. And it's just amazing how you do enough laps at a track and you map it out in your head, so you just go right back to it. You might not go back to your fastest pace, but needless to say, I went right to where I was normally riding and I was enjoying it. So I did a good 20 minutes or so, then I hopped on this after I adjusted the tire pressure and I made some comparisons. I could immediately find that the weight was much more with the DRZ. I could feel that weight, and I could feel the slower response of the suspension. Granted, my YZ is not, it does not just have a set of Supermoto wheels on it and that's it. It's got a suspension with shorter springs, not a lot shorter, but just short enough to make a difference, and they're much more rigid springs. The springs are for my weight and size and for the type of riding that I do. It's lowered slightly as a result of the shorter springs, and it's got a spacer in the rear to have a slight lowering effect. And the valving and spring are appropriate for my weight and type of riding in which I was doing, versus that of the DRZ, which is stock. However, I did do a adjustment for sag, and I played with the valving adjustments. But it's, you know, this is my dessert bike. But once my tires started getting warmed with the DRZ, I started getting closer to my comfort zone for riding it. And so that was the first thing I noticed. I noticed the suspension. And I noticed that although I could flick this bike, I could flick the YZ a lot easier. And that has to do with the speed response of the suspension, my riding ability, of course, the weight of the bike difference. And although that the YZ is a steel frame bike, it's still quite a bit lighter. Alright, moving on. I could notice, even though the DRZ is hopped up quite a bit and has more power, it was not as comparable. I mean, when I rode that track last year with the stock engine and stock carburetor in it, and it was even more noticeable, but it is not quite as noticeable, although pretty apparent to me. At number 3, 4, whatever number we're at on this, I noticed that the braking power was different. Granted, I think this is a 310, don't hold me to that, a 310 millimeter rotor on the DRZ versus the 320 of the Yamaha. And it's also got a, I don't remember if it's a 4 or 6 piston caliper, which is pretty apparent. So that combined with the weight of the DRZ put it at a little bit more of a disadvantage. So when I did want it to stop, I had to put considerable more force on it. Now, although I do have a the Supermoto brake line steel braided, that makes a difference in the consistency of the brake, but also it's just notably, you know, you can tell she's heavier, and that affects the braking power somewhat. That's a pretty good wheelie. So those are the things that I noticed about the YZ versus the DRZ. Now, something also that should be a difference that I have to explain also, it's harder to wheelie that one. It's even like power wheelies like that. The DRZ is much easier to wheelie, even though it weighs more, because of that suspension response is more automatic. If I wanted to wheelie the YZ, I'd have to yank on it quite a bit and also slip the clutch slightly. Not because of lack of power, but that rear just won't sink as easily, and the front suspension does not load load up the same way, which also affects how crisp and how easily I can turn in and also stay planted. So big difference on the suspension. Weight, brakes, and you know, it's a minor difference. I've got the Q3 Plus tires on the DRZ, and I have the Conti Attack Evo SM Evo on them, and it has the 5-inch rear wheel, so it can take the 160 properly, and this has a 150 rear, which I think is much better than the 140/70 stock size, and that's just for my own personal preference. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching and sticking with me. Hopefully the picture isn't too dark. I'm going to upload it anyway, and as always, I'm always going to keep it unedited and raw. Thanks for watching.